I want to welcome you to the Engineer Your Success podcast. My name is Dr. James Bryant, your host for the show. This podcast provides tools, tips, and techniques to help you succeed in business and in life. It is my pleasure to guide you on your journey to designing and living a life where you're winning at work and at home. I have the pleasure of having Mr. Andre Boykin here as a guest on the podcast. Now, Andre and I connected on LinkedIn. He's attended some of the Success On Ramp events, and we've had a couple of conversations. And listen, this is no lie. I've been trying to get him on the podcast probably for about a year. And he's finally cleared up enough time from his family schedule, his work schedule, his volunteer schedule to come join our audience. And I think it's really going to be a blessing as Andre shares his life and shares some time with us. Now, Andre, I've done a great time of hyping you up. Now I want you to introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, first off, Dr. Bryant, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. My name is Andre Boykin Jr. I am a professional engineer, bridge engineer based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, originally from Chicago, Illinois, happily married. And yeah, just my pleasure to be on the show today. Really looking forward to talking to you.
All right, man. Look, let's just hop right into this. What are some of the success principles that you've been able to see throughout your engineering career?
That's a great question. So one of the success principles is one of the things that I like to do is I'm always hungry to learn more. It's just like a need. And so competition, a lot of people, they compete and they look at other people as the competition. But with me, I'm competing against myself. So I'm trying to be better today than I was yesterday. I'm trying to learn more. I'm trying to be better. And so that really drives me every day because I'm like, so how do I be better? How do I be a better engineer? How do I be a better man? How do I be a better husband? So I'm just constantly looking at ways to self-improve myself. And it consumes me because I'm constantly looking at ways just to be better and to grow.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, Andre, I'm smiling because the people that know me closest would
yes.
say that I'm the same way. They would say that I am the same way. I am the person that after a workshop or after a training or after we deliver some product, I'm like, okay, I'll get my team together. What could we have done better?
Yeah.
What went well? What didn't go well? I think you should celebrate the wins, but
Yeah.
let's learn from those areas where we can actually improve.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things too is just the importance of being mentored and being a mentor. Like I've got mentors, it's just a melting pot. Mentors that look like me, mentors that don't, but they constantly pour in to me. And I'm so thankful for that because it just helps me learn. And when you get knowledge, it's just very important. This is just something that is just my passion and my purpose. Literally and figuratively, I'm a bridge because I build bridges, I inspect bridges,
Mhm.
but I'm being a bridge to young people.
Yeah. Now I know from various conversations and following you and connecting with you on LinkedIn that there are a few things that are important to you.
Yes.
One of which is that general mentoring principle for younger engineers.
Yes.
The other is encouraging those younger engineers to continue down the path to get their professional engineering license.
Yes.
So either one or both, whichever order you want to talk about those, I think it would be great to just hear why you're so passionate about those two things. And I'll follow up with what are some steps that you think people can take to move or continue to move in those directions.
That's a great question, Dr. Bryant. And so, like, I'll go back to when I was in college and
Yeah.
just being mentored by professors and grad school advisors and really understanding you go to school and you learn the core competencies that you gather from your curriculum. But I looked at myself as I didn't finish the race.
Mm.
I didn't complete the race. Okay. So I went and got this engineering degree, but can I really call myself an engineer?
Uh-oh. Go ahead. Go
Can,
ahead.
can I really call myself an engineer? Because in NC Bells, the state licensing board for North Carolina, like when I got here, and I'm a humble guy, but they humbled me even more. Mr. Boykin, can you really call yourself an engineer if you don't have a
The
professional
license.
engineering license?
Wow.
Can you really call yourself that? Are you a designer? Are you an engineer in training? Do you at least have the FE done? And so that's something that that's a lot of humility to take that, because you say this stuff like, man, I went to school, studied hard, I got the grades. But unless you have that professional license, you can't call yourself that. It's a lot of weight and a lot of responsibility that comes with that term
Yeah.
engineer.
Mm.
I wanted to finish the race. And
Okay.
then just looking at my journey to licensure, because it was a journey of faith, journey of prayer. It was a journey of resiliency, determination, because those tests are not easy. And it requires a lot of time and sacrifice
Yeah.
to get those tests done. And me personally, I went to HBCU, Tennessee State University, one of the best 4, 5, 6 years of my life. I ended up getting a bachelor's degree in architectural engineering, a bachelor's degree in civil and environmental engineering, and then going to grad school and get my master's in structural engineering. So just tremendous time, but I didn't feel like I learned what I needed to learn to pass the FEEIT
Mm-hmm.
while I was in college, because at Tennessee State, I didn't know how important credentials were.
Yeah.
And that's something, and this is another reason I'm so passionate. I'm going to and I'm interfacing with college students that are at our HBCUs, wonderful institutions. But what I'm seeing is that there's a disconnect at the HBCUs as it pertains to how important licensure is for engineers.
Yeah.
And because I'm talking to students from Tennessee State, from Howard, and they're like, man, they don't really know the art, especially if you're civil. If you're
Yes.
civil, good luck trying to progress without
And
those.
that's a key point. It will hinder your progression as to what positions you can do
Yes.
if you do not have your license. And you were talking about your journey. I had another gentleman on, Charles Jenkins. He talked about his journey, and he and I were talking about how many times we took the FE, how many
Mhm,
times we took the PE.
mhm.
And for those of you that are listening in or looking on YouTube, understand that if you don't pass your FE exam the first time, it's okay.
It's okay.
If you don't pass it the second time, guess what? It's still okay.
Yeah.
If
I'm a
you don't
repeat
pass it,
offender.
look,
Yeah.
if you don't pass it the third time,
Yeah. It's
you know
still
what I'm going to
okay.
say. It is okay. Keep moving forward. Keep
Yes.
learning. And because once you pass it, nobody's going to ask you how many times did you take the FE.
Nobody.
They don't
Nobody.
care.
Nobody.
So if they don't care, don't let it hinder you from moving forward. And I would say that same general principle applies to your PE.
Yes.
Nobody's going to ask you how many times you took the PE. They're not going to ask you what score you got on the PE. The
Mhm.
only thing that matters is that you passed.
That's it. I'm actually mentoring a younger lady that I've come into contact with recently. And she was just telling me, she's Dr. Bryant, just like getting over that mental hurdle of studying and not passing
Yes.
and picking yourself back up. And so then I just had a big brother moment with her. And I was just like, what you have is already in you. Just don't know it yet.
Yep.
I said, and just, I say, just look at us from historical perspective.
Mhm.
If your ancestors, if they don't have what you have, they don't make it, you're not here.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's in you. You got to dig deep. And I said, what's really worth having is worth fighting for. I've been blessed to have 5 mentees that have passed the FE.
Oh,
And,
that's awesome, man.
God gets the glory for that. But they come to me and they're just sponges. How do I prepare for the exam? And I tell them, the commitment that it will take
Hmm.
to get this done. But I'm just really excited about seeing us
Yes.
get it. Like when you look at the statistics, I think the last I checked, we were 4.4% licensed professional engineers in the US.
Oh, wow.
4.4%.
So African Americans make up 4.4%
Yeah,
of
that's the last I
licensed
checked, maybe like
professional
a
engineers.
year ago. Some of the young people I mentor, I say, don't be afraid to be great. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be great. And you should want to chase it. You should want to be better, do better, because you're building your brand. You want
Yes.
people to see you and feel good about not only the work that you can provide, but the contents of your character as well, to know that they're dealing with someone that they can trust. I pride myself on not only doing like good work, but having those soft skills. That's another thing that engineers struggle with. It's hard for engineers to talk to people.
Hmm.
It's
What I'll say, Andre, is that, and I've said this for a long time
uh
on the podcast and in the Engineer Your Success community, is that engineers are great communicators
yes, yeah,
to
yes.
other engineers.
The other engineers,
To other engineers. It's just that not everyone that you communicate with
yeah,
is an engineer.
yes,
And so that learning that, and I talk a lot about winning at work and at home.
hmm
And you have to learn how to communicate well at
yeah,
work and communicate well at home, because if you don't, you are going to have problems.
absolutely. You'll see engineers as long as they can see the same as the engineer and they can speak the same language. It's just so organic. But
Yeah,
most of the time, your client that you're interfacing with,
I
they
agree.
may not have the technical background. So
That's
how do
correct.
you distill it to a concept that they can understand?
Yes.
And that's where the soft skills come into play.
Yes. You have to be able to package the message in a way that person can receive it.
Yes.
So I often will say that everything I needed to learn about communication, I learned in the first 3 years of marriage, because
Yes.
my wife and I communicated differently. And I had to learn pretty quickly
Yes.
how to package what I was trying to say in a way that she could receive it, and
hmm
do something with it. Even if the answer is no, it's making sure that the information is presented in a way in which they can consume it and receive it.
Yeah. I learned so much about communication through marriage too, Dr. Bryant. And I thought I was a pretty good communicator until I got married. Yeah, but my wife, my wife Christine, she really understands me. So her field, she's an occupational therapist.
Okay.
She studies people for a living. So she got someone like me who's perfectionist, anal retentive, all that good stuff that you see with engineers.
Yeah.
And yeah, we found something. It's a way to communicate that works for us. And it's just it's an ever developing process, but it's just
Mhm.
something you have to be committed to.
That's cool. So you've talked about the importance of the FE and
hmm
then the PE, but I also know that you are also doing some volunteer work with NSBE, the National Society of Black Engineers. Could you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing with NSBE?
My company that I work for, Stantec, I am the one of the co-leads for NASB with a lot of our DE&I initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Hmm.
And so I am a corporate liaison co-lead. And what that is I'm basically with my wonderful partner, Christina, we actually spearhead all NASB efforts company wide. And so we go and participate in the NASB Fall Regional Conferences. Typically, we've been working with regions 1, 2, and 3, which is primarily on the East Coast, like the Southeast, but we are trying to grow to the West Coast as well. And what we typically do there is we'll go there and basically engage with the students. They'll have a massive career fair,
Hmm.
get resumes, talk to the students, and sit down with them, interview with them, and see where they want to go, and to try to help them develop a path. And a lot of the mentees that I've met from NSBE conferences
Okay.
that I still keep in the contact with this to this day. We'll also go to the national conference.
Hmm.
Next year, the national conference will be in Atlanta in March of 2024. But I actually just got back from Norfolk, Virginia for NESB Fall Region 2 conference. And that was an incredible time. Just always getting a chance to connect with my young brothers and sisters and getting a chance to instill wisdom in there. And then they receive me pretty well too, because even though I look young, I'm 41. So when they
You
first
still look
see me,
young.
when they, when they see me, they're like, oh, they feel really comfortable talking to me. And like I said, I just tell them I want to be a resource and help you where you're trying to go.
I
Thank you.
really I
Thank you.
applaud you for giving back. I applaud you for wanting to make a difference in actually taking steps to do that. And I appreciate your efforts in shaping the minds of younger engineers that are coming through, being able to reach out and connect with other African American
Thank you.
engineers and being able to make the connection that, yes, I made it, so can you. Yes, I'm
Yes.
a professional engineer. You can be a professional engineer as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Dr. Bryant, I had a young man come up to me and he had natural hair and he was just like, man, it was so refreshing to see you because I'm pursuing internships. I had a high GPA. I think his GPA was like 3.5,
Mhm.
but I was torn because someone had told me that I had needed to cut my hair and he had locks like myself. And he said, somebody told me that I needed to cut my hair to improve my chances of getting a job. And I told him that I don't agree with that. I said that you need to have your hair neat and we have to be presentable and we have to be professional at all times. But you don't have to cut your hair. It's what comes out of your mouth. It's what you say. It's your character
Yes.
that
Yes.
count. Not
Yes.
and if someone has some perceptions of what you represent or who you are, when your character and the words that you say can blow that away.
Yes.
I've done it time and time again. So no, don't let anyone tell you have to cut your hair. And he thanked me so much. He said it was so great to run into you. And we looked over his resume. I gave him some pointers of some things that he needed to do. One of the things I told him, Dr. Bryant, I said, when you're looking at a job requisition, you have to strategically alter the resume for each job that you're applying to.
Yep.
You can't just have a vanilla resume that you just send out. You have to revise that resume to fit the job description because HR reps are going to look for those keywords in that
Hmm.
resume. And that's going to be,
And let's be real, Andre. HR reps may not even look at the keywords because artificial intelligence may scan the
yes,
resume to look for the keywords.
look for the
Let's
keywords.
let's
Yeah,
go let's go ahead and get real because
you're
if
right.
those if do not customize it to be able to fit that requisition, you may never get a chance. And yes, there may be biases built into the model, but
Hmm.
if you don't customize it, you have no room, no space to talk about biases because you didn't take a step that you could have taken to for your name to be screened through.
Absolutely. And I was telling another young man, I was like, have someone proofread your resume and say, check for grammatical errors. Because if I get a resume and words are misspelled, that's immediately like, you didn't even
Yes.
take the time to review this before you put it together. So I say, have someone that's a little more seasoned take a look at your resume and you all talk about it together. And, and that way you make sure that you're representing your best self to any prospective employers.
Yep. So for young folks that are looking for a job or you're looking for a place to go, make sure you customize your resume so that it fits the job description so that you can make it through screening.
Mhm.
Also make sure that you have someone else that's a little bit more seasoned review that resume for grammatical errors or other kind of things that may be not easy to understand, but that their eye may be able to catch so that you are representing your best self
Yes.
for that employer as you're moving forward.
Yeah. Then there's another thing too. I shared a resume and a friend of mine, Deacon
Mhm.
Bobby, he's a recruiter. And one of the things me and him was talking about was that when you're putting together your resume, the skills that you list make sure that you have proficiency in those said skills.
Uh-oh, uh-oh. That sounds like a story or something that happened where somebody said they were proficient at something and they got into the interview and it's like,
Yep.
okay, show us. And it was like, uh,
That's something that me and him were talking about.
yeah,
So make sure that anything that you have on that resume, make sure that it's authentic. You're not just trying to get someone's attention by putting skills that you have and you don't really understand it. Because I know if I see a resume and they tell me I did some railway design and I know geopack or I've been getting into the open roads environment, I'm going to ask questions like, what's your thoughts on being able to do your horizontal and vertical geometry in the drawing and not using the GPK and the digital terrain model to read your data from that? And what's your thoughts on that? It's gonna really get in depth. And
mhm.
so you got to really know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I think that is cool. So don't stretch the truth
Yeah.
on, on your resume. Make sure that you're proficient in
Yeah.
what you say that you are proficient at. So earlier this year, when we started the year, I did a survey of civil engineers and other engineering professionals on LinkedIn and asking what are some of the top 7 kind of pain points that people are facing. So one of the things that was listed, I want to say it was like number 2, was lack of work-life balance or engineers struggling to find work-life balance. And so I
Mhm.
wanted to get your thoughts as a practicing professional engineer. You said you're married. I know you're active in volunteering. Sounds like you're active in your church as well. So you're doing these things. How are you maintaining balance, or I've heard it work-life harmony, or in the James Bryant engineer your success vernacular, how are you winning at work and at home?
Mm. So honestly, Dr. Bryant, there's always work to do. It's an ever striving process to try to have that work life harmony per se. But I literally will just shut my computer down and be like, okay, there's enough. It's 10 or 11 o'clock at night. I need to stop. And if I'm not at my optimum, if I'm not well rested,
Hmm.
then I'm doing a disservice to not only the team I'm working with, but also the client because they aren't getting my best self because I'm not well rested. And so
You forgot 2 more people. 2 more There are 2 more categories. If you're not well rested, you're doing yourself a disservice
your wife,
and you're doing your family
yep,
a disservice.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
but go ahead. I just wanted to add that in there. Sorry.
No, that's very important, Dr. Bryant. So yeah, so like I literally will just unplug and just take time to just really just have some me time, have family time because it's important and you come back rejuvenated and refreshed.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I was on vacation and I was me it's hard for me to step away. One of my friends reached out to me and she wanted to do a discussion on FE, PE preparation. And I was on vacation. But I was like, you know what? For you, for 30 minutes, we can talk about it. But because I'm just so passionate about helping young people.
Yeah.
But but yeah, the work-life balance, it's something I strive to improve on each day because I am a perfectionist. And like I say, it's just really hard for me to step away. But it used to be bad, Dr. Brian. Like I used to have the dry erase board in my room
Mhm.
and I'd wake up in the middle of the night and
Oh, wow.
solving problems and stuff. And when I got married, that stopped because my wife's,
I
you're not
I
having the
was
dry
hope
erase.
I was hoping that was before marriage, but I didn't wanna say anything when you were saying the dry erase, but I was thinking, I don't know how that wouldn't work in my house.
Yeah. Oh no, you're not having a dry erase board in the bedroom. Absolutely not. But yeah, it's just a constant process, but we have to unplug. We have to rejuvenate. We have
Mhm.
to refresh. It just helps us be better versions of ourselves.
So what types of things do you like to do to rejuvenate and refresh?
That's a great question. So one thing that I'd like to do is music. So
Okay.
I play saxophone, I play bass guitar. I draw, I do Legos, I
Wow.
watch movies, fantasy football, what else? Watching sports. So
Okay.
yeah, I'm all over the place, Dr. Bryant.
So we're going to have to record you doing some saxophone or bass guitar and play a little sample or something on the podcast. We're gonna have to either think about a new intro, welcome to Engineer Your Success, and and have your tunes playing, or on one of the audio courses that I'm working on now. We'll have to figure something out to kind of work that in, because I
You
think
know
that pretty
what got me? So what got me into it, Dr. Bryant, one of my good friends that was roommate in college, he was Steve. He was section lead in the college band,
mm,
and I used to hear him like practicing his stuff. And music is math; it's all related. And I needed an outlet from because I was double majoring in college, and I was just looking for ways to distress.
hmm.
And so I got into music.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man.
Thank you.
That is pretty cool. So, Andre, I really want to thank you for the time that you've spent with me, the time that you spent with the Engineer Your Success audience. Just spend some time on some parting words or a word of encouragement or anything that you would like to say to the audience that's listening.
Sure, sure. It's been a pleasure, absolute pleasure talking with you, Dr. Bryant, and being on the Engineer Your Success podcast. Some of the parting words that I would like to leave with for the more seasoned engineers: don't get complacent. Don't get complacent. Don't be comfortable. There's always ways that you can grow, you can improve, you can enhance your skill set. There's always ways that you can give back and help develop younger engineers. So don't be complacent. We have to constantly push the needle to do better and be better. For my younger engineers, stay hungry, stay humble. Realize that you coming out of college, it's a lot of stuff that you don't know. You just have your theoretical background and concepts that you went through in your undergraduate or graduate matriculation, but there's a lot that you don't know. You have to learn how the industry works. So be humble, try to get as much experience as possible, try to have as much mentors as possible, mentors that range from different ethnic backgrounds, but have diverse knowledge to be able to pour into you. I've got mentors all over that have poured into me and are continuing to pour in me. So it's very important to have mentors and to mentor people. You can't make any complaints about the world if you aren't trying to change it.
That's a good one. That's like a drop the mic moment right there. You cannot make any complaints about the world unless you are trying to work to improve it. Boom.
Yep. Oh no, thanks, Dr. Bryant. When I see people that complain, but they aren't solution driven, it's just white noise. We've got the problem solved. If there's really a problem, let's get together and let's be solution driven to try to figure this out together.
Okay. All right, man. That's great.
Dr. Bryant, you got an awesome podcast, and what you're doing with the engineering community is awesome. And I'm so glad we're able to finally connect. I was like, when I'm clearing stuff out the schedule, because I got to talk to Dr. Bryant. It's been long overdue.
No, I thank you again. And I'm going to end this podcast episode like I end every podcast episode, and that's this. Many people know what to do, fewer people know how to do it. And there is a select group of people that are actually following through doing it and are able to live the life of their dreams. Hey, Andre, I want to thank you for being part of that select few.
Thank you. Thank you. It was my pleasure, Dr. Bryant.